How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Ben Burnside Show, coming at you from Fresno. I am watching a live reaction of a vote taking place in the House of Representatives in Congress for, what was it again? It was the removal of Marjorie Taylor Greene from being a part of committee assignments. Marjorie Taylor Greene, for those who don't know, she is a U.S. House of Representative. And she's a brand new one. She got elected this past November. So what happened was she has a really questionable track record of crazy things she said. I don't want to get those crazy things that she said wrong, but she's a stomp Trump supporter. She said some things on Twitter involving the falsification of information, or at least information that she didn't provide proof of, about how the election results are false and all that kind of stuff. And she has a affiliated history apparently with QAnon and all that stuff. She's a popular topic in the mainstream media today, and I understand why. She's a very controversial figure and therefore a sensational figure. So with the mainstream media caring only about ratings today and not the news, everybody, it feels like, on the mainstream media is covering her. And honestly, it's rightfully so, though, too, because she's saying some pretty crazy stuff. She has a history of saying things that are highly questionable. Apparently, the vote is now complete, and the vote on agreeing to a resolution of removing Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene from committees just got passed. So Marjorie Taylor Greene is not going to be part of a committee, according to the House of Representatives. And she's part of the House of Representatives, so I don't see this going to the Senate. I don't think it does. I don't know that for sure, but the vote in the House of Representatives is 221 right now to 193. There's 18 more votes left. 18 people in the House voted to not vote or not be a part of this vote. As I drink my Crystal Light here, everyone's moving around. It's like there's no volume or nothing. Ah, that's good. So what do I think of Marjorie Taylor Greene as they're finishing up this vote count? I like the idea of her not being a part of any committees. Personally, for me, that's just my opinion. I think she says a lot of things as a publicity stunt. Like this article of impeachment she did on Joe Biden's first day of office was absolutely ridiculous. It was a mockery of our system, I thought. And Joe Biden wasn't even in office yet. What the hell did he do? It was just a ridiculous, irresponsible act for having that kind of position of power. So I'm no fan of Marjorie Taylor Greene at all. And I'm happy that they're kind of voting her out of a committee, because I don't know, I just think that's the right thing to do. I wonder if Marjorie gets a vote in this. I'm sure she does. She's a Congress member, so. She said some things on there, but I want to stay in the live video of the vote that's still happening now. Yep. Come on, pick up the pace. You guys are out of time, according to your time remaining thing on the clock for voting. I'm sure they always go overtime. They like to waste time, taxpayer time, and all that stuff over in Washington. So yeah, I think this is an interesting call to make. This doesn't happen a whole lot in Congress. It kind of happened with Apparently, it happened to this guy with the last name King. He wasn't he a congressman in like Virginia or West Virginia or something like that, where he like had Confederate flags and stuff that he was gladly carrying around. I don't know much about him, but he was a very controversial figure, and he got voted out of committees too. I just learned about this yesterday from watching my own news. And that news, by the way, is a show called Rising. It's a show based off the Hill newspaper in Washington. Everyone should go check that out. That's the most non-biased news, most real, authentic news I think I've ever seen in any of the political news by far. It's not even close. It's even ahead of C-SPAN. C-SPAN has fucking Steve Scully still employed. They should have fired him. I hope they did at least. I don't know. With clearly being biased with Biden over Trump. So. I think that's an overall problem with the media today. They were pretty biased toward Trump, and they're not really criticizing Joe Biden, it seems now. They should. They should criticize Biden. That would improve their ratings a little bit, which apparently is tanking to the shithole right now because they can't criticize Trump. There's nothing to criticize. He's gone. Trump is gone. He's in Florida, in his Florida cave. It's just crazy. So they only have 5 votes left. This is about to end, so I want to see what actually happens here. I got something to do, though, in like 15 minutes, so I hope this ends rather soon. I want to also in this video, in another time, I want to listen to the statement that Marjorie Taylor Greene made about this whole thing. You know, another statement she made, and she made a couple video statements I heard. She said something like she has nothing to apologize for in terms of things she said in the past or have done, mainly said. And she has, what else? She doesn't believe that 9/11 happened. They never showed a plane or something hitting the Pentagon. She doesn't believe that a plane hit the Pentagon or something like that. That's pretty ridiculous. I don't know, man. Removing people out of committees. To be fair, though, to removing people out of committees, and again, I would rather not have Marjorie Taylor Greene in a committee, so I don't hate this thing that this is happening, but isn't that kind of a form of cancellation, though? To cancel people out of committees, to kind of do some good? Because then they really wouldn't be doing good. You're for sure guaranteeing them to be voted out of office. I don't know how I feel about that, about pushing people out like that. I don't like that. I'm really careful about precedents that are being made, you know? So I think people should worry about that too. And yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene for sure lost here. There's like 4 votes left, 2 Republican, 2 Democrat, and the final score, the score right now is 230 to 198 to vote her out of committees. So the vote's over. It's just a formal thing at this point. The Rising people, the people on Rising that I told you about on the Hill, at that talk show that I just mentioned, they said something like they wonder if they're doing Marjorie Taylor Greene really a favor in terms of not being busy with committees, because like she just, she doesn't have to do that work. She could promote Trump more on her off time and stuff. Like, I don't know what this will really do. Well, it will have her out of committees. That is a big deal. I'd be curious to know what committees the House are responsible for. I'll have to look that up on my off time. But yeah, it's interesting to say the least. Come on, just get the last 3 votes in. What the fuck? Why does this take so long? It should have been done like 10 minutes ago. Yeah. Wonder if they're going to get to 200. 200 people would have voted no on this. It's kind of wild. Interesting. Alexa, how many Democrats are there in the House of Representatives as of right now?
Here's something I found on reference.com. The number of Democrats serving in the U.S. House of Representatives changes with each election cycle, but as of April 2014, only 199 Democrats hold elected office in this congressional chamber. Democrats are the minority party.
Alexa, stop. Well, that didn't help at all. Let's see here. Okay. Dang, what's going on? Still waiting. So, look, and if we're going to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene, we also got to talk about the other person that apparently is affiliated with QAnon or close to it. Her name is Lauren Boebert. She's a new congresswoman as well. She is from Colorado, though. Apparently she has her own restaurant with other waitresses and herself, and they all carry guns. And she had an interest, of carrying a gun, and this is before the Capitol Hill riots, but I wonder if it is now. She wanted to carry a gun, into Capitol Hill. She wanted to have it on her, on her holster. And the Capitol Hill police was like, Miss Boebert, I don't know about that, little lady. Hold up there. I think they just ended it. They're finalizing the votes now, it sounds like. They're calling this House Resolution 72. I'm sure they've had more House resolutions than that in the history of Congress. So,
on this vote, the yeas are 230 and the nays are 199. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Motion to reconsider, they lost.
For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Wyoming seek recognition?
Liz Cheney.
Madam Speaker, by direction of the House Republican Conference, I send to the desk a privileged resolution and ask for its immediate consideration.
House Resolution 95.
It is read.
Without objection, the resolution is agreed to, and the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
A reconsider vote for what just happened? Why would they reconsider so quick? So I guess Liz Cheney, who's a leading Republican congresswoman, one of the leader of the party in the House, barely, she just passed a motion to reconsider the vote that I guess just happened. I think that's what just happened. Liz Cheney has had an interesting month as well. After the Capitol Hill riots at Capitol Hill, with what happened with Trump and all that, Cheney voted with 9 other Republicans in the House, which is the most apparently in the history.
The House will now be in order.
Okay, one sec. Damn, that woman laid the hammer.
The chair will now entertain requests for 1-minute speeches. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Florida seek recognition?
Madam Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute and revise and extend my remarks.
Who's this?
Without objection, the gentlewoman is recognized for 1 minute.
Madam Speaker, it is with a heavy heart that... Madam Speaker, can I ask for the House to be brought into order? The House is not in order.
Pipe down, class.
Madam Speaker, it is with a heavy heart that I rise to honor the lives of two fallen FBI agents, Daniel Alson and Laura Schwarzenberger. On Tuesday morning, while executing a federal warrant in a child exploitation investigation, Special Agents Daniel Alson and Laura Schwarzenberger were shot and killed on the line of duty in Sunrise, Florida. This was sadly the FBI's deadliest day since the tragic events on 9/11. It has also been more than 30 years since two agents were gunned down to...
Okay, I'm gonna pause it. I'm sorry, guys. If you want to hear it, you can listen to this all on C-SPAN. It's called U.S. House of Representatives, colon, or no, it's the ... I don't know if that's colon. The U.S. House of Representatives. It's posted on February 4th, 2021. This is just their day. I want to tell you who this is, and I'll get back to it. Representative Demi Wasserman Schultz. She's a Democratic Congresswoman from Florida. So let's hear the rest of what she has to say.
Trying to make our community a safer place to raise our families. We grieve their loss not only to the community they serve, but to the families and loved ones they leave behind. They made the ultimate sacrifice, and we will be forever grateful. Madam Speaker, I ask the House to please pause for a moment of silence in memory and honor of these heroes who gave their lives protecting our children.
Oh, okay. That's what it was?
For what purpose does the gentleman from New Jersey seek recognition?
Madam Speaker, I ask unanimous consent
This is a
for
Republican.
1 minute and to extend and revise my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman from New Jersey is recognized for 1 minute.
I am here to speak about a wonderful...
This is Representative Jeffrey Van Drew, I think his name is. He's a Republican from New Jersey. I didn't know New Jersey had who's the big guy who ran for president? I forgot his name. All right, I got to get off, guys. I'm sorry.
I am here today to speak about a wonderful cause, Dream Like Drew, that promotes awareness of a rare genetic disorder, Cri du Chat. Dream Like Drew was a week-long event starting on May 3rd.
This is ridiculous, House. Shut up.
Where I can't hear myself think.
It's like
Questions off the floor.
these people are like 30 years older than me. It's crazy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm here today to speak about a wonderful cause, Dream Like Drew, that promotes awareness of a rare genetic disorder, Cri du Chat. Dream Like Drew is a week-long event starting on May 3rd where students can show their support by wearing unique socks, one high and one low. Cri du Chat is caused by the deletion of genetic material on the 5th chromosome that can cause delays in motor functions. Dream Like Drew was started by Casey Aiken, a teacher in South Jersey, in honor of her son, Drew Aiken.
Jersey.
Drew is an 8-year-old little boy who was diagnosed with Cri du Chat shortly after he was born.
Damn.
He lives life with a positive outlook and mindset that will allow him to achieve his dreams always. Drew is an inspiration to all, and Dream Like Drew is an amazing cause that encourages a discussion on how important acceptance and inclusion is for those with disabilities. God bless him forever. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
For what purpose does the
Cool
gentlewoman
speech.
from Texas seek recognition?
Madam Speaker, I ask to...
All right, guys. I got something to do, but I will resume this video starting right now. Hello, everybody. I am back again for part 2 of this video. Let's take a look at Marjorie Taylor Greene's statement before she was ousted as a member of any type of committee in Congress, which just happened like a couple hours ago. Let's go ahead and take a look at her statement before that happened. I've already read some quotes of what she said, and they were pretty clear and obvious lies to me, but let's go ahead and listen to the entire 10-minute clip. So, 3, 2.
From Georgia, Mrs. Greene.
This is audio
the
only.
gentlewoman from Georgia for 10 minutes.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, my Democrat colleagues, Republican colleagues, my district back home in Georgia 14, to the American people, to my mom and dad, and my husband and my children. I've been here for 1 month and a day, and I've gotten to know part of my conference, my Republican colleagues, but not even all of them yet. I haven't gotten to know any of my Democrat colleagues, and
That's
I
not
haven't
good.
had to have any conversation
You gotta write
with
some
any
notes.
of you to tell you who I am and what I'm about. You only know me by how Media Matters, CNN, MSNBC, and the rest of the mainstream media is portraying me. What you don't know about me is that I'm a very proud wife of almost 25 years, that I'm a mother of 3 children, and I consider being a mother the greatest blessing of my life and the greatest thing that I'll ever achieve. I'm proudly the first person to graduate college in my family, making my parents very happy and proud. I'm also a very successful
Nobody cares.
business owner. We've grown our company from 1 state to 11 states. I'm a very hard worker. I've always paid my taxes. I've never been arrested. I've never done drugs, but I've gotten a few speeding tickets in my day. What you need to know about me is I'm a very regular American, just like the people I represent in my district and most people across the country. I never ever considered to run for Congress or even get involved in politics. As a matter of fact, I wasn't a political person until I found a candidate that I really liked, and his name is Donald J. Trump when he ran for president. To me, he was someone I could relate to, someone that I enjoyed his plain talk, not the offensive things, but just the way he talked normally. And I thought, finally, maybe this is someone that will do something about the things that deeply bother me, like the fact that we're so deeply in debt, that our country has murdered over 62 million people in the womb, the fact that our borders are open and some of my friends have had their children murdered by illegal aliens, or perhaps that maybe we can stop sending our sons and daughters to fight in foreign wars and be used as the world's police, basically. Or maybe that our government would stand up for our American businesses and our American jobs and make the American people and the American taxpayers their focus. These are the things that I care about deeply. So when we elected President Trump, and then I started seeing things in the news that didn't make sense to me, like Russian collusion, which are conspiracy theories also, and have been proven so, these things bothered me deeply. And I realized, just watching CNN or Fox News, I may not find the truth. And so what I did is I started looking up things on the internet, asking questions like most people do every day. Use Google. And I stumbled across something, and this was at the end of 2017, called QAnon. Well, these posts were mainly about this Russian collusion information. A lot of it was some of what I would see on the news at night, and I got very interested in it. So I posted about it on Facebook, I read about it, I talked about it, I asked questions about it, and then more information came from it. But you see, here's the problem.
Yeah,
Throughout
more crazy
2018,
information.
because I was upset about things and didn't trust the government, really, because the people here weren't doing the things that I thought they should be doing for us, the things that I just told you I cared about. And I want you to know, a lot of Americans don't trust our government, and that's sad. The problem with that is, though, is I was allowed to believe things that weren't true, and I would ask questions about them and talk about them. And that is absolutely what I regret. Because if it weren't for the Facebook posts and comments that I liked in 2018, I wouldn't be standing here today and you couldn't point a finger and accuse me of anything wrong, because I've lived a very good life that I'm proud of, my family's proud of, my husband's proud of, my children are proud of, and that's what my district elected me for. So later in 2018, when I started finding misinformation, lies, things that were not true in these QAnon posts, I stopped believing it. And I want to tell you, any source, and I say this to everyone, any source of information that is a mix of truth and a mix of lies is dangerous, no matter what it is saying, what party it is helping, anything or any country it's about. It's dangerous. And these are the things that happen on the left and the right. And it is a true problem in our country. So I walked away from those things, and I decided I'm going to do what I've done all my life. I'm going to work hard and try to solve the problems that I'm upset about. So I started getting involved in politics. You see, school shootings are absolutely real. And every child that is lost, those families mourn it.
Don't do it.
I understand how terrible it is, because
Don't do
when I
it.
was 16 years old in 11th grade,
Shut up.
my school
Don't do
was
it.
a gun-free school zone, and one of my schoolmates brought guns to
This is
school
kinda
and
low,
took our entire school hostage. And that happened right down the hall from my classroom. I know the fear that David Hogg had that day. I know the fear that these kids have. And this is why, and I say this sincerely with all my heart, because I love our kids, every single one of your children, all of our children. I truly believe that children at school should never be left unprotected. I believe they should be just as protected as we were with 30,000 National Guardsmen. Our children are our future, and they're our most precious resource. I also want to tell you 9/11 absolutely happened. I remember that day crying all day long watching it on the news. And it's a tragedy for anyone to say it didn't happen. And so that I definitely want to tell you, I do not believe that it's fake. I also want to tell you that we've got to do better.
Didn't address the Pentagon.
You see, big media companies can take teeny tiny pieces of words that I've said, that you have said, any of us, and can portray us into someone that we're not. And that is wrong. Cancel culture is a real thing. It is very real. And when big tech companies like Twitter, you can scroll through and see where someone may have retweeted porn. This is a problem. This is a terrible, terrible thing. But yet, when I say that I absolutely believe with all my heart that God's creation is He created them male and female, and that should not be denied, when I am censored for saying those type of things, that is wrong. You see, here's the real situation. I decided to run for Congress because I wanted to help our country. I want Americans to have our American dream. I want to protect our freedoms. This is what I ran for Congress on. I never once said during my entire campaign, QAnon. I never once said any of the things that I am being accused of today during my campaign. I never said any of these things since I have been elected for Congress. These were words of the past, and these things do not represent me. They do not represent.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
I decided to run for Congress because I wanted to help our country. I want Americans to have our American dream. I want to protect our freedoms. This is what I ran for Congress on. I never once said during my entire campaign, QAnon. I never once said any of the things that I am being accused of today during my campaign. I never said any of these things since I have been elected for Congress. These were words of the past, and these things do not represent me. They do not represent my district, and they do not represent my values. Here's what I can tell you. I am beyond grateful for this opportunity, and I'll tell you why. I believe in God with all my heart, and I'm so grateful to be humbled, to be reminded that I'm a sinner and that Jesus died on the cross to forgive me for my sins. And this is something that I absolutely rejoice in today to tell you all. And I think it's important for all of us to remember none of us are perfect. None of us are. And none of us can even come close to earning our way into heaven just by our acts and our works. but it's only through the grace of God. And this is why I will tell you, as a member of this Congress, the 117th Congress, I'm a passionate person. I'm a competitor. I'm a fighter. I will work with you for good things for the people of this country. But the things I will not stand for is abortion. I think it's the worst thing this country has ever committed. And if we are to say in God we trust, how do we murder God's creation in the womb? Another thing I will say to this body is I want to work with all of you for our people. It should be America first always. Always. And there's nothing wrong with that. And if this Congress is to tolerate members that condone riots that have hurt American people, attacked police officers, occupied federal property, burned businesses and cities, but yet wants to condemn me and crucify me in the public square for words that I said and I regret a few years ago, then I think we're in a real big problem, a very big problem. What shall we do as Americans? Shall we stay divided like this? Will we allow the media that is just as guilty as QAnon of presenting truth and lies to divide us? Will we allow ourselves to be addicted to hate and hating one another? I hope not, because that's not the future I want for my children, and it's not the future I want for any of your children. I yield back my time. Thank you.
The gentlewoman.
Okay, so I wrote a lot of notes down while she was talking for 10 minutes. Let me count how many. Boy, I got a lot to say about this. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, I got 12 things to say about this video that I just heard. First of all, I thought she came off disingenuous. I totally thought she came off as somebody who was just trying to cover her ass. I don't believe anybody that in her position or that would be in her position, I wouldn't believe a single word they said to begin with. So, yeah, that's my take on it. I don't believe, this is note number 1, I don't believe her story of how she got into politics. I don't know her story. I'm kind of curious about it. And that's going to go into my second question, or my second point is, what was her business that she was talking about? Like, what did she do before going into politics? I'm kind of curious. So I'll look that up on Wikipedia here. But, yeah, I don't believe her story one bit about, her caring about just the entire narrative. I just don't. I thought it was very, very simplistic, even though she described a journey still. I still thought it was simplistic. Oh, I'm here. Never mind. Let me focus on this story. I'm getting some interesting additional stories of other things from my Google. But Taylor Greene. Let's go to Wikipedia. Where are you, Wikipedia? So, early life. Okay, so she's a Georgia native. University of Georgia, Bachelor of Business Administration. It's a hard degree. You got to work hard in business. Father is founder of a big construction company. Sold the company to Taylor Greene and her husband in 2002. So, she didn't really earn anything. She got it inherited to her. The couple and vice president. So they immediately became vice president and president. So she's not a hardworking woman by just reading what I'm reading here. It's called Taylor Commercial. Wow. Her business, the Taylor Commercial business, got hit during the pandemic, but it received Paycheck Protection Program funding from the Small Business Administration in the amount of $182,300. Let's see. In 2011, she stepped down as CFO, Chief Financial Officer of the construction company. She took up CrossFit and began to post on social media and publish podcasts. In August of 2013, Greene co-founded a CrossFit gym, CrossFit Passion, in Alpharetta, along with then 22-year-old Travis Mayer, before later selling the business. Okay, interesting. She was comfortable enough to do that. So I will say that she created a business. That's a good thing, you know. That requires work. Okay, but she sold it. She doesn't own it anymore. I gotta be honest, I'm not very impressed with her resume. Like, I know that it's the creating the business from CrossFit was good. She had the money for it though. I don't know the behind the scenes with that stuff. So, yeah. I thought that was interesting. I gotta tell you, if her opponent was a neurosurgeon, as it says here for the primary seat that she campaigned for, I gotta say that I would rather have the neurosurgeon. I mean, you gotta do a lot of work to become a neurosurgeon. You don't need a lot of work to inherit your dad's company. Just saying. So, I don't know. I don't like that. I think, so yeah, not a fan of her, you know, in terms of her businesses. Okay, she started up a CrossFit thing. That's cool. But that's like the most impressive thing to me that she's done in her life. Just from looking up her early life and stuff on Wikipedia. I'm sure she's done more, but, you know, the degree is impressive. But, I don't know. That's not enough. So next thing is, those are my first two points. Point number 3. She's mentioned early in the speech that basically half of the House of Representatives, I can believe this to be true. They don't, you know, being the Democrats, they don't want to talk to Marjorie Taylor Greene. They're avoiding talking to her. I saw that Cori Bush felt threatened by her staff, so she moved office or something like that. That's not good. That's not good at all. And that goes for both sides. You know, more so Greene. I think Greene needs to come forward and say hello if they feel threatened. If they openly admit that on social media, Marjorie Taylor Greene needs to walk up to her without cameras and just say hello. That's a big deal. It's a big deal to me. And this is the problem with politics. It's so, what's the word? It's so divided. It's so toxically divided these days. I don't know how it was back in the old days, but it seems like more than ever before, it's so toxically divided. With the exception of like the Civil War. And, you know, that's a big, big problem in Congress. And these are our leaders. These are the leaders of our country, and they're acting like this. That's a big fucking problem. Marjorie Taylor Greene, if Cori Bush, who's a new congresswoman, an African-American congresswoman, she's a Democrat, she's part of the squad, or like one of these super liberal Democrats in the House. Marjorie Taylor Greene needs to go walk up to her and talk and try to develop some kind of a relationship with Cori Bush that isn't just a toxic, hateful one. Those hateful divides, they need to stop. They need to melt away. And that's a big problem. That's not just Marjorie Taylor Greene's fault. That's the Democrats' fault too, for not going up to her and trying to talk with her. You know, this is really how it is in Capitol Hill. That's a big fucking problem. That's a big problem. I hope that that's not the case. So, please, guys, come on. We need to get over that stuff. She said she liked it when Trump talked. She she liked the Donald Trump candidate because she felt that he talked like a normal person. Let me be clear, Donald Trump is not a fucking normal person. What is normal about that guy? There's nothing normal about him. But I got what she meant. Trump didn't sound like a politician. She didn't sound polished. Marjorie Taylor Greene does, though. So I don't agree with. I don't get her logic of that at all. And yeah, man, that's a big problem. It's a big problem. I think that she doesn't sound like Trump, but she's going to endorse Trump, and Trump has her back. So Marjorie's not going anywhere. Especially if Joe Biden fails and Trump becomes president, she's not going anywhere. She's loyal to Trump, and therefore she's around. And that's unfortunate, but it's the way it is. But that's what got her into Congress, was she liked the way that Trump talked. Okay. What else on here? Okay, so check, and check. And she talked about kind of her journey at that point and how she got to be in Congress and all that. She said that she doesn't believe in misinformation. She looked up QAnon and she wanted to talk about it. She thought it was interesting, and she didn't because she didn't trust. She got into QAnon, according to her in the speech, because she didn't trust the mainstream media. She didn't get the answers that she was looking for, or they weren't giving her the answers, I think is more what she was kind of saying. And, I understand the whole thing with the mainstream media, at least, not giving her the answers that, that she needs. Not even wants, but she needs. I feel like the mainstream media doesn't cover a lot of stuff. And they're biased, frankly, especially towards Republicans, or against Republicans, I should say. And I get why the QAnon base has grown over the years, because the mainstream media hasn't done their job of being unbiased, of actually telling the news. They don't talk about a lot of really important news stories. And that goes for all of them across the board. I'll name them: NBC News, ABC News, CBS, CNN, Fox News, OAN, fucking Newsmax, even, C-SPAN, I'll give them, they do. They need to get rid of Steve Scully, but I like C-SPAN. The Hill is an exception to all this. What's another one I'm forgetting? MSNBC. Oh my God, I almost forgot them. MSNBC, CNBC. They're a joke. The mainstream media is a joke. And it's no wonder why people went away from that, especially Republicans, went away from that, and they went into something like QAnon, a good amount of them, because they had nowhere else to go. They felt like they couldn't get any valuable information from the people we rely on, the people we rely to get our information from. It's unbelievable. There's that. So basically what I'm saying is, I'm not saying they're the only factor, but the mainstream media has to be blamed a little bit for the emergence of something like QAnon. I really think that. I think that the mainstream media, they're not honest, they're biased, and they tell the stories that they want to tell for ratings. And they deviate from their main responsibility of being unbiased and telling the news. And so people went to QAnon to try to get some kind of information out of desperation. It totally makes sense to me. And I understand that. I don't condone QAnon's actions whatsoever, or people that went to the Capitol or anything like that. But I understand, and I don't support QAnon, but I get why they grew. I get why their base grew. And that's pretty scary. That's what the mainstream media can kind of create or is responsible for. That's how much power the mainstream media holds. That's what happens when they don't do their job. So there's that. That's like point number 4 for me. You know, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, she admitted to talking about QAnon and stuff, but she said later on in her speech here that misinformation was dangerous. Okay, you still presented it. You also said you weren't sorry about anything you've done recently. Okay, liar, whatever. I don't believe a single thing you say, so whatever, just cross that out. Number 6. I shouldn't call them liars. That's not going to bring them back. So if I said anything offensive, like, or anything that's divisive, I take that back. I really want to talk with them. That's why I care about this discourse, because this is serious for our country. This is serious. This is a public representative who votes for serious issues. So I care about this stuff. Let's see, what else did I say? Oh, she talked about, okay. I mentioned that. She talked about how she said that 9/11 did in fact happen, but she didn't talk about how she doesn't believe a plane went to the Pentagon. I didn't hear her say anything about that, which she said in a separate video that I saw. So, you know, the jury's still out of what she really thinks of the Pentagon as of today. So I thought that was interesting that I didn't hear that. So there you go. Okay, I did 7 points already. Oh, okay. Mainstream media on Marjorie Taylor Greene. You know, I didn't talk about that part. Mainstream media, I talked about them and how they're kind of responsible, I think, for the emergence of QAnon. Because also they talk about QAnon. It's like they want to talk about the most controversial things for ratings. And that's a big problem. They care about the ratings more than they care about the story and talking about what's important in order to make this country better. They care about the ratings. That's a big problem. That's a scary thing. And that needs to change, or else things are going to get worse, I think. They care about the money. Money is the root of all evil. And also, as I've said in this channel a bunch of times, communication is number 1. It is number 1. Number 1. And if you don't communicate the right way towards the American people, bad stuff is going to happen. Like the emergence of QAnon. And also, the mainstream media has been hyper aggressive the last week or two, and rightfully so. But we have a lot of bigger things to deal with, even bigger than Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think. But the mainstream media has been very critical of Marjorie Taylor Greene the last week or so. And hopefully with this thing with Marjorie Taylor Greene, it's over. You know, we stop talking about her for at least a while, because we got really important things to deal with right now. Like super crisis level important stuff to deal with. We have to worry about the coronavirus. You know, we have to worry about vaccinations. We have to worry about this new coronavirus variant. Are the vaccinations even going to be effective against that thing? We have to worry about how vaccinations are very improperly being implemented into our society in order for people to take them. Very badly. We have to worry about our horrible shaped economy. Just horrendous because of this pandemic. It's been the worst that it's ever been, maybe since the Great Depression, by the sounds of it. So we need to worry about that big time. I don't want to cuss. Where's our stimulus checks? Where is our stimulus checks? You know, we got $600. Okay. Within 10 months. Good job. During a pandemic where people are unemployed. Like me. Where are the stimulus checks? And Joe Biden said he was going to give us $2,000 stimulus checks immediately, not $1,400 stimulus checks because he wants to be retroactive of the 600. No, give us another 2,000. Not 1,400 because we got 600. You should give us another 2,000. You didn't give us anything 10 months before, Congress. Joe Biden, make up for that. Give us 2,000 right now, and that won't even make up for it. So there's that. You know, that we got that big problem with the stimulus checks. Our economy's in the crapper, and what else do we have? We have a major environmental crisis with climate change and global warming. We have an issue with jobs. You know, the Keystone Pipeline. The positive about that with the climate change, that's great, but we just took out a lot of jobs. A lot of jobs are being outsourced to China. China has us by the nutsack with a lot of things. They're toying with us. They're making fun of us. And they're trying to gain power. Very serious signs. Powerful enough to where the World Health Organization is not wanting to go investigate about the coronavirus until last month, when the coronavirus has already been a thing for a year at that point. So I just that we have way bigger issues than just Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's my point. So hopefully this Marjorie Taylor Greene thing stops now that we've done something about it, because we have way bigger issues to deal with right now. Way bigger. And we know why the media did it. I just said it. It's because it's the Marjorie Taylor Greene and her actions of the ridiculous things she says are the most controversial, you know. They're the most sensational and the most triggering. So, of course, that means ratings for the mainstream media, so they mention her name all the time. And therefore promote this woman that they highly disagree with because of its ridiculous logic. It's not ridiculous. It's about the money. They don't, you know. People that are in the mainstream media, a lot of them are sellouts. I'm going to say that. A lot of them are sellouts. And that's just my opinion. It makes me mad. It makes me mad that they don't focus on important stuff. So, yeah, there's that point. I have two more points. You know, and I talk about QAnon in the mainstream media and how that's, you know, obviously it was formed by that. But this thing with Marjorie Taylor Greene, even though I support it, I think it's probably good that she's out of committees, you know, based off what she said. And I'll get to that in a second, of why why I agree. The whole thing with QAnon, the people that didn't go to the Capitol, that didn't riot, you know, I'm sure there's a few of those people that didn't go. The idea of getting rid of Marjorie Taylor Greene, there's a negative to that. And it's that you're further polarizing them, the people that support QAnon. You're further pushing them away from public discussion. It's another sign. Look, I really don't agree with them. I think they are probably, if I had to talk to them, my guess right now is that I probably think they are out there just like a lot of other people in this country do. But you know what? The people that support QAnon and the ideas of them and that aren't violent, they need to have the right to go to a public platform and speak their mind. So there can be civil discourse. There can be public discourse where their ideas clash with ideas like mine. And that's just not happening because you're committing acts like these with Marjorie Taylor Greene a lot, not just in this case, but in many other cases of divisiveness, to where they don't feel encouraged to talk on a public platform, and a lot of them now feel encouraged to go to something like a Capitol riot. That's what I think the case is. That's what I think is happening here. That's my guess. You need to have these people with extreme ideas, you need to give them a platform to talk. You know, we need to. It just needs to be the case. You don't have to believe what they say, but you have to, as Daryl Davis says, as Daryl Davis points out, who's a public activist, you know, he's a black man who has a bunch of friends in the KKK, and he talks to him about his viewpoints that he differs with the Ku Klux Klan, and a lot of those people leave the Ku Klux Klan because he successfully wins in civil discourse, or he gets them to unthink their ideas and leave the Klan. So I'm not saying that QAnon people are going to do that, but you need to give them a chance to talk. You know, just insulting them, not trying to compromise with them, not trying to find common qualities about them, they are going to be further polarized, and they're going to feel more angry. That's what I think the case is going to be. They're going to feel like outcasts, and that's not good. So, and it has to start with the top. It has to start at the top with these politicians talking, especially Democrats, talking to people like Marjorie Taylor Greene on a regular basis. That needs to start happening. So that's my second to last point. My last point is, frankly, in this particular case, I support what happened here. I really do. You know why? Because in this entire speaking point that Marjorie Taylor Greene just did, she never apologized to Nancy Pelosi for liking a status or approving a status of violence towards her, you know, and just that kind of stuff. Marjorie Taylor Greene needs to apologize. She needs to retract from that, and even then, that might not be enough, because when she would be apologizing here, she would be apologizing when she was under pressure, and I don't believe a word she says at that point. So, you know, it just blows my mind that Marjorie Taylor Greene was able to hide something like that and become a congresswoman. So just with that action alone, I support her not being on committees. And I don't know if it's legal, what they did tonight. Apparently it is, because they just did it. But I don't know. I think that I don't feel bad for her. I don't feel bad for her being kicked off of committees for supporting violence, basically, towards other politicians. Just can't fly. Just can't fly in Congress. It's not a precedent we can endorse in a format that's supposed to be about speaking in a civil manner. Sorry. So those are my thoughts of the video. I'm going to do a video. I'm going to do another part. It's going to be based off what AOC said in this same hearing. So we're going to do that right now. How's it going, everybody? Got my drink. Going to try to find a video on the Hill YouTube channel. So a lot was talked about with Marjorie Taylor Greene, and you know, I think you know, with the whole voting thing that happened tonight with Greene, a lot of people had a lot to say about her and about the whole thing with the Capitol Hill riots and all that stuff. It's all politics, it sounds like, but I'm not going to listen to all of them. I'm just going to listen to AOC. But a lot was said, frankly, and I'm just going to listen to this clip of what AOC had to say, because she's maybe the most popular person in Congress, or at least she's right there. So let's hear what she has to say as I go on the Hill YouTube channel. This is about 4.5 minutes long.
Trying to find company from
goddamn
somewhere you
YouTube
trust
ad.
can be overwhelming.
Hey.
What? Some celebrity just gonna show up? 2021, the gentlewoman from New York, Ms. Ocasio-Cortez, is recognized for 60 minutes as the designee of the majority leader.
60 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days to revise and extend their remarks and include extraneous material on the subject of my special order.
Without objection.
Thank you. 29 days ago, on January 6th of 2021, insurrectionists attacked our Capitol, seeking to overturn the results of our nation's elections. 29 days ago, The glass in and around this very chamber was shattered by gunshots, clubs, by individuals seeking to restrain and murder members of Congress duly elected to carry out the duties of their office. 29 days ago, Officer Sicknick, who just laid in honor yesterday in our nation's capital, was murdered on the steps just outside this hollowed floor. 2 Capitol police officers have lost their lives since, in addition to the 4 other people who died on the events of January 6th. 29 days ago, food service workers, staffers, children ran or hid for their lives from violence deliberately incited by the former President of the United States. Sadly, less than 29 days later, with little to no accountability for the bloodshed and trauma of the 6th, some are already demanding that we move on, or worse, attempting to minimize, discredit, or belittle the accounts of survivors. In doing so, they not only further harm those who were there that day and provide cover for those responsible, but they also send a tremendously damaging message to survivors of trauma all across this country, that the way to deal with trauma, violence, and targeting is to paper it over, minimize it, and move on. Sadly, this is all too often what we hear from survivors of trauma as the reason why they don't get care, that what they experienced wasn't bad enough or too bad to talk about, or that they are afraid of being invalidated, accused of exaggeration, or making a mountain out of a molehill. As a result, thousands, if not millions, deny themselves the care that they need and deserve to live better lives. 29 days ago, our nation's capital was attacked. That is the big story. And in that big story reside thousands of individual accounts, just as valid and important as the other. Tonight, for this special order, we will begin to hear and commit to the congressional record just some of those many stories. I thank my colleagues who have bravely come forward today to share their accounts. And with that, I yield to my friend, Mr. Welch from Vermont.
Wow, that was a lot of nothing there. I'm not trying to, what's there to say? There wasn't a whole lot said, frankly. I think, man, that was kind of underwhelming. I thought that I would hear more than that from her on that. Yeah. I agree. There's a lot of individual accounts. I'm happy they brought up Officer Sicknick. So yeah, those are all obviously very important. I will say though, I don't have a lot to say. I wish I would have taken notes. It's hard to really blame her for being mad at Republicans for what they kind of endorsed with these Capitol riots. There's no other way to put it. I think they have a lot of explaining to do, and frankly, I really think we should try to find a way to get the people who incited this kind of violence. It wasn't just Trump, but it was people like Madison Cawthorn, the new congressman, and also the 5 or 6 senators who voted to still decertify the election after the riots happened, and all the other 130 Republicans in the House who did as well. They should be accounted for in some way. And people should be taken out of office. I know Josh Hawley says he's not running in his next term. That's probably a good idea with what he did. I wish Ted Cruz would do the same thing. You talk about a guy who says who called Donald Trump a sniveling coward in his election. I don't know, man. I feel like that's the word I would describe, frankly, for Ted Cruz. I really do, just based off his actions. and just doing anything to gain a political advance or a promotion, would do or say anything, and vote for anything that he feels like would improve his career to the next level. He's a person, in my opinion, that doesn't need to be in Washington. He needs to go. And maybe I shouldn't have called him a sniveling coward just now, but yeah, I shouldn't have called him that. But he also doesn't have a right to call anybody a sniveling coward. He really doesn't. Not in my view. I retract calling him a sniveling coward, but do not call anybody a coward, sir. Nobody. I think that. So yeah, that's where I stand on how a lot of Republicans should be. And even though I wish Josh Hawley in a way wouldn't go because he's the only Republican, it seems like, that supports $2,000 checks, except for Mitt Romney as of today. But yeah, I just wish that Josh Hawley would. I don't know. I'm not too mad that he's not coming back though either. He endorsed this to happen. And yeah, I'm just happy that that he's gone, and hopefully a lot of these other Republicans are going too, that I don't think deserve to have a seat in a high power of office in Congress. So, but with all that said, and me not being a Republican, I also don't feel like I'm a Democrat either. I think Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez kind of proved an idea that I have of her in this speech, and I have of all the other squad members. Apparently, the other squad members like Ilhan Omar, apparently she had a passionate speech tonight. Rashida Tlaib, apparently she was crying in her speech. That makes sense given what they had to go through that day in Capitol Hill with the riots. But at the same time, it's all about politics. That's what it comes off to me a little bit. It comes off as a form of just the culture war and identity politics, and just looking good and saying the right things in front of a camera. That's what it looks like. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, in that 3.5-minute video I just watched, it wasn't 4.5, it's 3.5. I didn't feel like she really said anything. She said things that were obviously true about everybody having their own story that was there. Okay. Then what? I just think that I think the squad, quite frankly, they want to be Bernie Sanders, but they're not Bernie Sanders. Because you know what Bernie Sanders does besides bark? He bites. He follows up on his promises. He does things that he says he's going to do. I don't feel like the squad has done that, really. They really haven't done much. You know, and even though they say they're going to do all these things, or they're going to imply that they're going to do all these things, they really don't. And they need to start kind of biting a little bit. And so it's hard to really side with the Democrats either. They're kind of enablers in a way too for different things, I feel like, and except for Bernie. But Bernie's getting older. He's like 76, 77. I mean, something's got to give there too. We need a Bernie Sanders replacement. Hopefully Andrew Yang comes into prominence more to kind of take care of that. I wish Tulsi Gabbard would come back again. So that's where I stand on all this. But yeah, I'm not very impressed by this speech, frankly, with AOC. So that's my take. What do you guys think about this whole situation with Marjorie Taylor Greene? What are your guys' thoughts on the Capitol riots? Let me know, and provide some discourse for me, some civil discourse for me, if you will, down in the comments section below. Don't hold back. Let me know your thoughts. And I'd be glad to talk to you about this important subject. While you're at it, go ahead and like this video. That'd be awesome to me. And go ahead and subscribe. That'd also be awesome to my channel. I don't just talk about politics, but I do regularly. I talk about pop culture. I talk about sports, combat sports. I do movie trailer reactions. You name it, I do it. Go ahead and check my YouTube channel down below and let me know what you think. Alrighty, guys. Until then, I hope you have a great rest of your week. The weekend's coming up. Super Bowl, baby. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. One more day to go until that starts. So I will see you then in the next video. But until then, you guys have a great night. Stay well. Stay safe. Peace, guys. Thanks.